So we can start the session, yeah. Okay. හොඳයි. සුඛී හෝතු. සාදු සාදු අනුමෝදාමි. සාදු අනුමෝදිතබ්බං. කමාමි කමිතබ්බං. සුඛී හෝතු නිබ්බාන පච්චයෝ හෝතු. සුඛී හෝතු නිබ්බාන පච්චයෝ හෝතු. සුඛී හෝතු. So today actually after a long time, so we are starting the English discussion. So we were discussing actually Bhante Dhammajiva and Venerable Buddharakkita. So they were discussing few suttas available in the Sutta Nipata. And according to their recent information, we need to start a new sutta. So that is called Tuataka Sutta. So Vishwa is prepared to read it. So I invite Vishwa to read the sutta.
Tuataka Sutta. What is the origin? These two originated at the same great gathering. Some deities there gave rise to the thought, what is the practice for the attainment of arahantship? To make this matter clear to them, in the way already explained, the Blessed One had a mind-created Buddha question him, and the discourse was spoken in response. Here in the first verse, firstly I ask. Here questions are analyzed by way of those asked to clear up what has not been seen before and so forth. How having seen? Having seen in what matter? How does this seeing occur? I ask you, kinsman of the sun, I ask. There are three kinds of questions. A question to clear up what has not been seen. A question to confirm what has been seen. A question to eliminate uncertainty. What is a question to clear up what has not been seen? Some matter is ordinarily unknown, unseen, unassessed, unscrutinized, obscure, unrecognized. One asks a question in order to know about it, to see it, to assess it, to scrutinize it, to clarify it, to recognize it. What is a question to confirm what has been seen? Some matter is ordinarily known, seen, assessed, scrutinized, clear, recognized. One asks the question to ensure that one is in agreement with other wise people. What is a question to eliminate uncertainty? Somebody who is ordinarily prone to doubt, prone to uncertainty, indecisive, asks a question to eliminate uncertainty, asking, is it like this or not? What is it? How is it? There are other threefold groups of questions. Questions asked by human beings, by non-humans, by emanations, a question concerning one's own good, the good of others, and the good of both. A question about the good pertaining to the present life, the good pertaining to a future life, and the supreme good. A question about the blameless, non-defilement, and cleansing. A question about the past, the future, and the present. A question about the internal, the external, and both. A question about the wholesome, the unwholesome, and the indeterminate. A question about the aggregates, the elements, and the sense bases. A question about the establishments of mindfulness, right striving, and the basis for spiritual power. A question about the faculties, the powers, and the enlightenment factors. A question about the path, the fruit, and nibbana. Kinsman of the sun. The sun is a Gotama by clan, and the Blessed One is a Gotama by clan. The Blessed One is by clan a relative and kinsman of the sun. Therefore the Buddha is the kinsman of the sun. About seclusion and the state of peace. There are three kinds of seclusion. Bodily seclusion, mental seclusion, and seclusion from the acquisitions, as stated in the earlier sutta. Peace. From one angle, both peace and the state of peace are just nibbana, the deathless. From another angle, the state of peace, or path to peace, is the qualities that lead to the achievement, attainment, and realization of peace, the four establishments of mindfulness, the noble eightfold path. Great Rishi says, the Blessed One is a great Rishi, for he has sought, searched for, pursued the great aggregate of good behavior, the great aggregate of concentration, the great aggregate of wisdom, the great aggregate of liberation, and the great aggregate of the knowledge and vision of liberation. He has sought, searched for, pursued the splitting of the great mass of darkness, the breaking of the great inversions, the removal of the great dart of craving, the unraveling of the great compound of views, the lowering of the great banner of conceit, the allaying of great volitional activity, the crossing of the great flood, the subsiding of the great fever, the raising up of the great banner of the Dhamma. He has sought, searched for, pursued the great establishments of mindfulness, the right kinds of striving, the great bases of psychic potency, the great faculties, the great powers, the great enlightenment factors, the great noble eightfold path. He has sought, searched for, pursued the great supreme goal, the deathless Nibbana. How having seen does a bhikkhu...
One moment. So actually, we are continuing now. This description continues for long time. I mean, for lengthy description is there, right?
Yes, Bhante.
I mean, how many pages are there altogether?
915 is over from that point.
Uh-huh.
But the total sutta is one.
Okay, it's a long thing. Okay, many things are there. So I think we better...
More than 10 pages.
Yeah. I think we better take one verse. And is it possible for you to, see or check what is the description given for the first verse in this description?
Do you want me to start reading from here in the first verse? Firstly, I ask.
Yeah, now basically, this has the first verse, right? The first verse is like this. Pucchamitang adicca bandhung vivekang santipadancha mahesing katang diswa nibbati bhikkhu anupadiyano lokasmin kinchi. So this is the first verse. So now you can turn to the Sutta Nipata, the English one. No, not that. Now this is the description.
Okay.
And you have only the verses if you see, you put it this one. And now see the verse. Sutta verse.
Oh, okay.
So what you have read was the commentary. So first we better talk about the direct translation of the sutta, and we can refer commentary in order to get a better explanation. It's in the Attaka Vagga. So this is actually the direct translation of the sutta, and then it has, in this book, it has the commentary as well. So you were reading this commentary. This is the direct translation of the sutta. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, fine. So the first verse going like, as I mentioned, Pucchamitang aditta bandung vivekang santipadancha mahesing katang diswa nibbati bhikkhu anupadiyano lokasmin kinchi. So the idea is, now Buddha has prepared or made another Buddha, kind of a created Buddha, and that Buddha is asking questions from the real Buddha, and the question asked is going like Pucchamitang adicca bandung vivekang santipadancha mahesing katang diswa nibbati bhikkhu anupadiyano lokasmin kinchi. So what is the translation?
I ask you, kinsman of the sun, great Rishi, about seclusion and the state of peace. How having seen does a bhikkhu attain Nibbana, not clinging to anything in the world?
Not clinging to anything in the world. Now basically it has some few things. Vivekang santipadancha mahesing. So vivekang. So basically where the Buddha's mind is... now these are certain descriptions, certain qualities attributed to the Buddha. So he is called Adicca Bandhu. The what is that? The clansman of the sun, right?
Kinsman of the sun.
Kingsman of the sun. And that's a name, kind of a metaphor given for the Buddha. And Vivekang Santipadancha Mahesing. So Vivekang. So he is secluded. And Santipadancha Mahesing. So the Nibbana is again referred as the Santipada, the peaceful state. And the person who has acquired or attained that peaceful state. And now I am asking that question from you. Kathan diswa nibbati bhikkhu. And having seen what? That a particular bhikkhu attained nibbana, where anupadiyano, not clinging to anything in the world, lokasmin kinchi. So that is the question being asked. And then Buddha give the answer, Mulang papancha sankhaya manta asmiti sabbang uparundhe yakachi tanha ajjattang tasang vinaya sada sato sikhe. Can you...
By reflection, he should stop the conceit. I am, the entire root of concepts due to proliferation. The Blessed One said, whatever cravings there may be internally, he should always train mindfully for their removal.
So now, I mean, this each verse is very rich. Actually, there's a significant attention is required to explain it. Now, Mulang papancha sankhaya manta asmiti sabbang uparundi. So this basically means the root of the papancha, root of the mental proliferation, root of the conceptual proliferation is asmiti, I am. And that is being recognized by wisdom. And understanding through wisdom that the cause of all conceptual proliferation is the notion of I am. So that the wise one has completely abandoned, completely prevented. And as a result of that, yakachi tanha ajjattang, whatever the craving available inside, tasang vinaya. And in order to overcome that, in order to remove that, in order to say weaken that, sada sato sikhe. And he mindfully, continuously training himself. So very interesting and fairly deep, isn't it? The whole Patipada is very concisely explained there. So Buddha mentioned basically the one who is with great wisdom has to understand what is the exact or the root cause of papancha, root cause of conceptual proliferation. The answer is also given, that is the asmiti. That means I am, the notion of I am here. You are there. So likewise we are preparing kind of a reference. Say I am here, you are there, and another person is another where, somewhere. So likewise we prepare this whole language, the grammar, etc., and using which we prepare all these sorts of different thinking, conceptual proliferation, conceptualizations, and various concepts. So with that measurements, that kind of coordinates, now we refer this and that people, and then we are talking, they are writing, and we are referring, and all sorts of things are going on. So Buddha mentioned, okay, that is the root cause of papancha. So there are various ways that the prapancha may very much like expand. That is typically mentioned as tanha ditti mana. Tanha is the craving, ditti is the views, mana is the conceit. So those are the three streams that the say the prapancha would continue, prapancha would further expand. But the root cause is what Buddha refers here in this verse, that is asmiti. That is I am. So I refer always myself as a person, I myself as an individual, and with respect to that, okay, now I am thinking. With respect to that, now I am talking. With respect to that, I am sort of addressing another person. So that very root Buddha mentioned is the cause of the root cause of the papancha. Very interesting. I mean, very deep answer given there. So is it possible for you to find out the description of that in that commentary?
Yes, I think I.
We'll see whether it is possible to find it. It would be difficult, by the way. So I don't know whether such description is given in the commentary. Does commentary tell much about the first verse, second verse? There is no verse-wise description not given, right?
There is a verse-wise description, Bhante. I read the first description.
Okay. Can you repeat it then?
The whole thing?
Yeah.
Okay. Here in the first verse, firstly I ask. Here questions are analyzed by way of those asked to clear up what has not been seen and so forth. How having seen? Having seen in what manner? How does his seeing occur? I ask you, kinsman of the sun. I ask. There are three kinds of questions. A question to clear up what has not been seen, a question to confirm what has been seen, a question to eliminate uncertainty.
Right. So these are some additional descriptions given by the commentator. So three types of questions. So the question is asked in order to understand what he didn't understand, in other sense. And a question can be asked in order to confirm what he has already understood. The third one is what?
A question to
clarify doubt,
eliminate uncertainty.
Uncertainties, kind of eliminate doubts or perplexities in the mind. So in order to eliminate those doubts, again a question can be asked. Right.
There are other threefold groups of questions. A question asked by human beings, by non-humans, by emanations. A question concerning one's own good, the good of others, and the good of both. A question about the good pertaining to the present life, the good pertaining to a future life, and the supreme good. A question about the blameless, non-defilement, and cleansing. A question about the past, the future, and the present. A question about the internal, the external, and both. A question about the wholesome, the unwholesome, and the indeterminate. A question about the aggregates, the elements, and the sense bases. A question about the establishments of mindfulness, right striving, and the basis for spiritual power. A question about the faculties, the powers, and the enlightenment factors. A question about the path, the fruit, and nibbana.
Right. Now, these are various questions. So, a question can be asked using different forms. One thing is to understand something which haven't understood, and to confirm what you has already understood, and to eliminate doubts which one might have. Now, these are the three types of questions. Now, there are different themes of questions. Topics of questions are explained in the commentary. Various themes are given. So after that?
Then it goes on to say, kinsman of the sun. The sun is a Gautama by clan, and the blessed one is a Gautama by clan. The blessed one is by clan a relative and kinsman of the sun. Therefore, the Buddha is the kinsman of the sun.
Yeah. So each word by word, now the commentary explains. So the Adicca Bandhu, the kinsman of the sun, is a synonym, kind of a name given to the Buddha.
About seclusion and the state of peace. There are three kinds of seclusion: bodily seclusion, mental seclusion, and seclusion from the acquisitions.
Correct. So one moment. So these are some more other information. I mean, a huge amount of information is given in this sutta. So basically, there are three types of seclusion. So those are the say the viveka, what is called the bodily viveka, bodily seclusion. That is the kaya viveka. Then the chitta viveka, the complete subsiding of the hindrances. One is attaining, say, samatha jhana or something like that. So that is the mental seclusion. And the third one is complete seclusion from the defilements. That is where the abandoning of all the acquisitions. Upadi viveka. Kaya viveka, chitta viveka, and upadi viveka. So those are the three types of viveka explained in this term as the viveka. Right.
Then it goes on to define peace. From one angle, both peace and the state of peace are just nibbana, the deathless. From another angle, the state of peace, or path to peace, is the qualities that lead to the achievement, attainment, and realization of peace, the four establishments of mindfulness, the Noble Eightfold Path. Great Rishi says, the blessed one is a great Rishi, for he has sought, searched for, pursued the great aggregate of good behavior, the great aggregate of concentration, the great aggregate of wisdom, the great aggregate of liberation, the great aggregate of knowledge and vision of liberation. He has sought, searched for, pursued the splitting of the great mass of darkness, the breaking up of the great inversions, the removal of the great dart of craving, the unraveling of the great compound of views, the lowering of the great banner of conceit, the allaying of the great volitional activity, the crossing of the great flood, the subsiding of the great fever, the raising up of the great banner of the Dhamma. He has sought, searched for, pursued the great establishments of mindfulness, the right kinds of striving, the great basis of psychic potency, the great faculties, the great powers, the great enlightenment factors, the great Noble Eightfold Path. He has sought, searched for, pursued the great supreme goal, the deathless Nibbana.
Yeah, so a huge description is given, a long description about what Buddha has achieved. So that attainments, achievements, findings, everything is somewhat explained here. Yeah.
How having seen does a bhikkhu attain Nibbana?
So that is the question actually asked. Now all these descriptions are given just to explain about the Buddha. Now the real question actually asked from the Buddha is Katang Diswa Nibbati Bhikkhu. Seeing what a monk may attain Nibbana. So that is the main question being asked. Yeah, okay.
How having seen does he extinguish his own lust, hatred, delusion, anger, ... and all unwholesome volitional activities?
So basically attaining Nibbana is that. So complete elimination of Last, complete elimination of anger, complete elimination of, say, delusion. So how one can attain that?
Then it goes on to define a bhikkhu. A bhikkhu who is a good worldling or a trainee.
Yeah, okay, so the bhikkhu, the term bhikkhu is also explained as a person who has some fear about the sansaric journey, and one who is practicing as a result of that fear, and the one who is going from house to house for alms round. So these are different definitions given for the Buddha, given for a bhikkhu. And here we can say, okay, bhikkhu is a person who is basically has understood the fear of this sansaric journey, and he is now wanting to find a solution. Mm-hmm.
And the commentary for the first verse ends there, Bante.
Ends there.
Yes.
Okay. And then Buddha talks about the solution. Mulam papanja sankhaya manta asmiti sabbang uparunde. Now these two lines explains a huge insight. Basically, Mulam papancha sankhaya. So various kinds of mental proliferation, conceptual proliferation, and causes for mental proliferation is rooted on the notion of I am. So manta here means the wisdom. So one may understand that root through wisdom. Right.
So the translation for the first verse again is, by reflection he should stop the conceit I am, the entire root of concepts due to proliferation. Whatever cravings there may be internally, he should always train mindfully for their removal.
Yeah. So in order to do that, one has to be completely mindful. So his mindfulness has to be intact, mindfulness has to be continuous, because then only one may understand, okay, when mind is going to conceptually proliferate. So whenever mind tries to conceptually proliferate, so one needs to understand that. So one has to trace that. One needs to notice that whenever mind is trying to conceptually proliferate. And Buddha further mentioned, so that conceptual proliferation has the root as I am. So whenever you feel that I am, you feel that I am as a person, I am as an individual. So we can say, okay, that is a kind of some sort of initiation of this conceptual proliferation. Now you are going to start a story. Now we are going to start a conceptual proliferation. Now we are going to start kind of an obsessive thinking. So the moment that you feel I am, you are going to start a story. So that we can say that's just beginning, just the initiation of the conceptual proliferation. So it's very much like through Yoniso Manasikara, you are carefully looking at what mind does, and now you are tracing, okay, the feeling of I am as an individual, I am so and so. That very initiation is the beginning of the conceptual proliferation. That is where it is rooted. Mm-hmm.
The commentary for the second verse. Now one attains Nibbana when one sees in such a way that one stops the defilements. Therefore, conveying that point, the Blessed One spoke the 5 verses beginning by reflection, instructing the assembly of Devas in various ways to abandon the defilements. Here the concise meaning of the first verse of the 5 is as follows. Because they are designated proliferations themselves are concepts due to proliferation. The root of this is the defilements such as ignorance and so forth. By reflection, he should stop the entire root of concepts due to proliferation, and the conceit occurring in the mode I am. Whatever cravings there may be that might arise internally, he should always train mindfully for their removal. He should train with mindfulness established.
Yeah. So that is where the kind of the training. So first of all, we need to establish mindfulness and say develop wisdom. And then the mindfulness has to be continuous. And through that continuous mindfulness, one needs to be fully aware when mind is going to start kind of a story. When mind is start thinking conceptually or using any conceptual proliferation. And another additional insight is that so that conceptual proliferation is rooted at the notion of I am. So I'm feeling that I am here as a person. I am so and so. I am with these designations, I am with these titles. So all these are very much promoting conceptual proliferation.
The entire root of concepts due to proliferation. Proliferations themselves are concepts due to proliferation. There are concepts due to proliferation associated with craving. There are concepts due to proliferation associated with views. What is the root of proliferation associated with craving? Ignorance is a root. Callous attention is a root. The conceit I am is a root. Lack of moral shame is a root. Lack of moral dread is a root. Restlessness is a root. What is the root of proliferation associated with views? Ignorance is a root, and so on. Restlessness is a root.
Yeah, now the commentary actually gives some more explanation, like restlessness as a root and etc. etc. But in the direct sutta, so Buddha particularly mentioned about the I am, the conceit I am, asmimana, as the root.
By reflection, he should stop the conceit I am. It is wisdom that is called reflection. I am. In regard to form, there is the conceit I am, the desire I am, the latent tendency I am. In regard to feeling, perception, volitional activities, consciousness, there is the conceit I am, the desire I am, the latent tendency I am. By reflection, one should stop the entire root of concepts due to proliferation and the conceit I am.
Right. Now here, the I am can happen due to craving, due to wrong view, and due to delusion, due to ignorance. So the asmimana can have a kind of a flavor of craving, flavor of conceit, flavor of view. So asmiti chandang, asmiti tanhang, asmiti mana. So likewise, different flavors, different kind of we can say facets of asmi, the I am, can happen. So say for example, there's a group, and say now I am talking, so now I am being conceited, so then I am can arise like that. Now there are some interesting things are available and you are being attracted to that, so I want that, so the I am happens like that. Or else you believe that as an individual I am an individual, I am so and so, I can happen like that. So likewise the conceit I am, particularly the asmi, can happen due to various causes, and particularly what are the three things it's mentioned, right? Craving, etc. Can you explain it again? How I am can happen?
In regard to form, there is the conceit I am, the desire I am, the latent tendency I am.
Yeah, latent tendency, that's the anusaya. So, I mean, again and again we are thinking that I am myself, I am an individual, and others are also confirming that, others are also addressing using my name and accepting me as an individual and respecting me as an individual. And all these things are very much like now deeply rooted in one's mind, and that is where you become very much granted with that. Now it is automatically operating based on that conceit I am. So that is where I'll call the asmiti anusaya, where it has become a kind of a latent tendency. Right.
He should always train mindfully for their removal. One is mindful by developing 4 causes: contemplation of the body, contemplation of feelings, contemplation of mind, and the contemplation of mental phenomena. One is mindful through another 4 causes. One is mindful by avoiding lack of mindfulness, by doing those things that are to be done with mindfulness, by eliminating those things contrary to mindfulness, and not by forgetting the basis of mindfulness.
Yeah, so basically now going to the practice. Now how one may develop the unattached mind, non-proliferative mind, avoid this asmiti mana and all these things. And another thing is one constantly sort of monitoring oneself, observing one's mind, and to see how these thoughts are popping up, thoughts are initiating in one's mind. That's a very interesting term. Can you refer the previous one? Just now we have some information was there. Now conceit, or I am, the notion of I am, the individuality. Actually, we can call it as kind of different levels are there. The more gross level is called sakkaya ditthi. So I I am accepting this body as I am. I feel or I view this body as I am. Or I feel these feelings are me, myself, I am. Or the various perceptions, signs as myself. And my activities, my volitional activities, my volitional thinking, all these are as myself. And the way I am coordinating with others, or how I interact with the whole world, so that as I am. So that is what we call as the Sakkaya Ditthi. So Sakkaya Ditthi can happen due to various subjects. So typically in the suttas, it is explained as 20 subjects. To each aggregate, there are four kinds of I can happen. Individuality can happen. Conceit can happen. Or the Sakkaya Ditthi, what we call as the personality view, can happen. So that is very much like the gross form of conceit I am. And the very subtle form of conceit I am is what now we were discussing. That is where you feel still kind of I still available here, person still available here, individual still existing here. So that sort of understanding is there. Understanding or wrong understanding is there. Now, I mean, rather than simply continuing, shall we interactively talk something? Sumana, could you like to contribute? So you are the foreigners, so foreigners first. So one area is that the Sakkaya Ditthi, where we knowingly or unknowingly identify with the body. Say now when you are referring, okay, I went to India. So what did you mean?
Because, well, the body went to India.
Yeah.
But you're saying I went to India, so
yeah. So we refer like that. No, I mean we talk like that. We communicate like that when we are talking. So that basically means, okay, the body also has gone. At the same time, my mind also with there. But even while the body is here, I can go to India through the mind. So I can think about Buddha Gaya. I can think about various places of India through the mind. But that is we refer as thinking. But when I am calling that I went to India, so that indicates that the body also was taken to India and we went through a journey, long journey, etc. So that is I am referring as myself. So that basically means kind of underneath the understanding is that body is I, body is myself. So I consider this body as an individual, body as a self. So we need to understand now all these are languages, right? I mean, we need to talk to another person, we need to communicate with others. And in order to do that successfully, now I am referring this body, taken it as for kind of a granted, okay, I went there. Say I went to the meditation hall, I went to arms round, I went to Pindapata. So we are referring like that. So when we are referring like that, actually internally we accepted, okay, this body is I am representing this body. So now I went to, say, Pindapata. So that means underneath there is a kind of a wrong understanding, okay, this is I am. But on the other hand, there's another point I like to add. An Arahant also can tell like that. But that he has completely eliminated the ignorance, but just for communication he is referring. Because he also has to talk to someone, and if someone asks, Bante, have you gone to Pindapata? He also may answer, yes, I went to Pindapata. Because for easy communication. But underneath he know there is no body considered as I.
Mm-hmm. If I'm not mistaken, there's a sutta where the Buddha is like describing why he still uses the words like I am and stuff like
exactly.
And stuff like, even though he's fully awakened, even though he's completely destroyed ignorance entirely.
Exactly.
So yeah, so it's mainly just it again when we're talking about Sakkaya Ditthi, personality view, it's like believing that there's like a person inside this mind and body, rather than, or is it mainly just the I guess it could be the mind. Could it be the mind and body that they
that they think of a personal.
So either we can consider body as I, or the various components of mind as I, or the combination of all as I, one or two components as I. So various combinations can happen.
Okay, so but it's really what it is. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is nama and rupa, mental and physical process.
Correct.
So it's not a person. It's not an I, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So that is the very much like the understanding that one would get as a result of the practice. So when one is continuing one's practice, so this identification become weaker and weaker. So you are not identifying body as I. You don't identify feelings as I. You don't identify various perceptions as I. Rather, you are capable of now understanding, okay, this body is just mere elements. Feelings are merely feelings. So they are simply arising and passing away. They are, say, pleasurable feelings. They are painful feelings. They are equanimous feelings. Now you are capable of looking at feelings as feelings. So that is a significant understanding where you are not identifying with them. I mean, you are not talking that I am suffering, I am happy, right? I am bored. So that refer where you identify with the feelings as an individual.
It's more like just a natural phenomena, right? Like it's not like it's like a natural process. It's not like this is a person like I am happy. It's just like happiness, you know.
Yeah.
Sadness, pain.
Exactly.
You know, like not like this is me, myself, I.
That's
you
right.
know, like a person.
That's
you know.
right. So we are not inserting a person into the picture. We are not including a person into the picture. Rather, we are capable of detach from the experience and see the experience as it is. So now the body is painful. Okay, that's it. There's a pain available. Body is going through pain. Okay, say the worry is there. Okay, this is just the worry. It is not that I am worried. It's just the worry. So likewise, how we can detach from experience, how we can detach disconnected from experience, and if we are able to do that, then we are not identifying with it. So that is very important actually. I mean, in the whole Satipatthana practice, so that is what we are trying to achieve in a way. So now say for example, say you are walking. So while walking meditation happens, so the moment that you are able to understand, okay, the body walks, but you are not the body, but you simply experience various sensations, right? So that means kind of a detached observation is there. Unattached observation is there. So the body simply walks and various experiences are happening then and there. And you like an outsider capable of understanding, capable of experiencing without getting involved, without interfering in the process.
So I actually, Bhante, I remember bringing this up in one of the previous sutta discussions, but there's the sutta. I think it's from the Samyutta Nikaya. It's I think it's called. Maybe I don't want to try to say the Pali name, but because I don't know if I remember it correctly, but it's where the Buddha is like talking about Patujana, a commoner, and Arya Savaka, a disciple of the noble ones, and how they kind of like
differentiate.
They're like the Patujana, you know, when they have physical or external pain, they kind of like personalize it.
Correct.
And so they feel too.
Salasutta.
Yeah, they feel it's like being shot with an arrow. I think he uses that like arrow kind of reference. And they feel two pains, you know. So the Patujana, they'll get the external pain, and then they'll personalize it, and they'll feel mental pain as well. So they feel the two pains, the physical and the mental. Whereas the Arya Savaka, they are detached.
Correct.
So they're more detached at least. So they only have one pain, the physical. Correct. They don't have the mental.
Exactly.
So yeah.
That is the most important part actually. So when we are continuing our practice, particularly we are referring the feelings now. So when body goes through some painful feelings, are we able to detach from that? Rather than thinking that I am suffering, why it happened to me, poor me, etc., etc. So is it possible for me to step back, come outside of that experience and simply look at, okay, there is pain. Now the body is going through some pain. Body is going through some ache. body is going through some illness. So that detachment, as you said, is the ability of the Arya Savaka. The Putujjana simply say, okay, I am suffering, I am worried, so he's crying, he's lamenting, and he's cursing the others, why did you do this to me, and blah, blah, blah. But the Arya Savaka, simply he is capable of, okay, there is pain. That's it, just pain. So his mind is not involved in that, not identifying with that, not proliferating about that, not personalizing that. Exactly, not personalizing that. So he is capable of detach from the experience and simply look at it objectively in a way. So this objective observation, detached observation, non-personalized observation is utterly important. It's a kind of a challenge in a way. I mean, we can talk here when there is no huge pain. But when there is pain, we immediately identify, okay, Bante, I am suffering, Bante, please help me, Bante. We are crying also, right? We are crying, why it's happened to me? I have done so much of good things, why it happened to me? It can't happen to me. The other person is doing good, I mean, he see how good he is living, but see, I am suffering. So that is where, so we immediately start identifying pain as myself. So this is pain, I am suffering. But the moment you are capable of seeing pain as pain, there's a huge difference, huge disconnection now happens. So the physical pain may be there, unavoidable, but you are not suffering with the mental pain.
And I guess this is a latent, rooted up tendency of the mind to just personalize like pain and, I guess that's like a really rooted up latent tendency. Correct. In the mind.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that is, we can call as, say, avijja anusaya, the ignorance as a rooted tendency. Ignorance. So we believe that I am here, a person is here. And that is one cause we can say. The other one is asmimana anusaya. Asmimana is the conceit I am. So it is also deeply rooted. So I perceive as a person. I perceive as I. There's a sense of I. There is a sense of I. So that is also deeply rooted. It is underneath. Sense of I am. It's underneath. So that is also a latent tendency. So time to time it is coming up, rising up, boiling. So the conceit I am. So it's also deeply rooted, kind of an anusaya as a latent tendency.
Bhante, if you know, I just wanted to ask if you know the name or the and perhaps the Nikaya, that sutta where the Buddha is talking about why he still uses I am, like,
Yeah.
So
that is the Arahanta Sutta.
Okay.
Arahanta Sutta, I think it's in the Samyutta Nikaya or Devata Samyutta. Devata Samyutta. So let me find it. Very interesting verse. Very interesting verse in the Arahanta Sutta, in the what's that? Devata Samyutta. Samyutta Nikaya. Sutta Attakata. Taka Samyutta Nikaya. Sagata Vagga. Devata Samyutta. Can you... Okay, can't find it immediately, by the way. So it's going like this. Yohoti bhikkhu arahang katavi khinasavo antima deha dhari. Ahang vadami tipiso vadeyya mamang vadanti tipiso vadeyya. Vadeyyati. So a deity is asking a person who is completely uprooted defilements, khinaso, and completely abandoned the fetters, and he is the person who is now living the last life. That's the last life he is living. And arahang, and it's an arahant, enlightened being, and he has done the task, completed the task, but he still refers ahang vadami. So I am talking, I am speaking. And so vadeyya mamang vadanti tipi so vadeyya. And he also speaks, okay, he talked to me. So then Buddha answering, Yohoti bhikkhu arahang katavi kinaso antima dehadari ahang vadami tipiso vadeya mamang vadanti tipiso vadeya loke samanyang kusalo vidhitva vohara mattena so vohareyati. So the first one, the same thing. So a bhikkhu arahang who has completely uprooted defilements, fetters, who is having the last birth, and he also refers, I am speaking, I am talking, and also he talked to me. So likewise he used the typical terminology. Loke samanyang kusalo viditva. Now this is the difference, by the way. Loke samanyang kusalo viditva. He has understood very well about the conventional communication of this world. So the people have some way of communication, some way of referring others, some way of talking to others, how to communicate with others. So he very well understood that. Loke samanyang kusalo viditva. Now he skillfully understood that. Loke samanyang kusalo viditva vohara mattena so vohariya. And he also used that for mere communication. That's it. He is not identifying with it. As you said, he is not personalizing that thing, but he is simply using it as simply words to communicate with another person. That's all. He doesn't believe that there is I am here, but he may simply talk, okay, I went there, and he talked to me, he gave me some food, like that. He also refer, but he very well understood there is no person here, there is no I here, or there is no individual here, but he also refer that. So there's a deep understanding. In that understanding, he is based on, by the way. Hari.
There's probably though this just deep rooted latent tendency to actually think I am. So
when that is being uprooted, even though Arahant is referring I went there, he told me, etc., etc., that deep rooted I am is not there. Very difficult to understand in a way. No, I mean, he still uses the typical terminology, mundane terminology, but there is no essence in the sense there is no co-identification.
Yeah, there's no true belief in I am. He doesn't believe in I am anymore. It's just using it. Yeah.
For mere communication.
Yeah.
As a tool, he is using the terms, terminology, languages, etc. That's it. But he is not identifying with it. He is not recognizing himself as an individual, so blah blah blah. So he is not quarreling with another person, etc. Just to safeguard himself, his personality, his designation, his respect, or etc. Because these are mere conventions. Very deep. I mean, very interesting and very deep. So how a worlding refers me, myself, and fight with others, and how an arahant uses the same terminology without any fight, without any conflicts, without any trouble. He too uses the same words, same language, same terminology, but no quarrel, no friction.
So that's from the Samyutta Nikaya?
This is in the Samyutta Nikaya, Devata Samyutta.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Devata Samyutta. One deity actually is asking that question in the Samyutta Nikaya. So actually, we were discussing Tuataka Sutta, where Buddha gave an account of how one has to attain Nibbana. In basically, that's the main question being asked. So how one can attain Nibbana? So that's a question. Katandiswa Nibbati Bhikkhu. By seeing what a monk can attain Nibbana. Anupadiyano lokasmin kinchi. So without clinging to anything in the world. So Moolam papancha sankhaya manta asmiti sabbang uparunde. So I mean the huge importance is given to the root cause of conceptual proliferation. The root cause of conceptual proliferation is asmiti. I am. The conceit I am. The latent tendency I am. The craving I am. And the monks, the arahant has seen that root cause, and that is the one initiating this conceptual proliferation. That is the one sort of starting the whole gamut of thinking, and he has very well understood that, and he has completely avoided that, prevented that, subsided that as much as possible. Sabbang uparunde, all different possibilities he has subsided, abandoned, prevented, weakened. Yakachi tanha ajjattang tasang vinaya. If there is still some craving available internally, yakachi tanha ajjattang tasang vinaya. In order to sort of remove that, he is now sada sato sikkhe, consistently, continuously, mindfully training himself. I mean, the whole practice very concisely put in this simple verse. Now, this is the beauty of this Sutta Nipata verses. They are utterly deep, extremely concise. The whole Patipada is very beautifully included in a single verse. You can see, I mean, how beautifully included the whole Patipada. We are talking about the lifetime Patipada, lifetime practice, put in just a single verse. Very beautiful, I mean, very profound. Very, very profound. Rather than talking in length, Buddha has just put in simple terms, just a single verse. Very interesting.
Overall than other parts of the sutta.
Yeah. Yeah, poetic as well as very profound.
Yeah, kind of.
Since the Tuataka Sutta talks about the practice and what we should do to do this cleansing process, Bhante, am I correct if I think in this way that what Buddha expects us to do is to empower the 5 spiritual faculties led by Sati, right? Because he also says Sada Sato Sikkati. So
Sada Sato, yes.
Sada Sato
Continuous
Sikkati.
mindfulness.
Yes.
Every time got to be mindful.
Yes. So if one person focuses on developing those 5 faculties, the spiritual faculties, Indriya Bala Dharma, the uprooting, the self-conceit, or any other hindrances, defilements, anything, is it the job of the mindful faculty to do that part? And can we confine ourselves to empower those 5 faculties? So when we differentiate it, our jobs are well clearly defined. It's not our job to do the cleansing or to uproot the self-conceit. It is the job of the mindful faculty in our citta to do that part. And our job as a bhikkhu is to develop those 5 faculties. Am I...
Yeah, we can say so at the same time, and we can't again assign the whole task to mindfulness. Mindfulness and, as you said, other faculties. So they play a kind of a coordinative role. So, say for example, the faith is required because suppose that I am still not an arahant, but still I have to have a faith. Yeah, I have to continue this path. I need to continue the path, and I am quite faithful about the Buddha's teaching. I accept Buddha as the enlightened, self-enlightened person. So all these things are giving me enough strength, enough energy to continue my path, even though I still not fully enlightened. So that is in a way the faith. And effort is also very much like that. So even though you come through various difficulties, obstacles, say as we discuss ailments, illnesses, all these things on your path, so you are somehow handling things. So you are continuing your practice. Relentless effort is there. So that is another thing. Other one is the effort. So the mindfulness. Yeah, you are always present. You are always trying to be awake. What's going on right now? How the mind is reacting right now? What are the things going on in the mind? What the mind is thinking? So likewise, fully aware of the present situation. And not only that, so if in case mindfulness indicate, okay, now there is a defilement, now there is something. Now the job of the panya is to take some action. So it has to be very awake, and when mindfulness indicate, okay, now there is a kind of a friction available, unrest available, frustration available, agitation available, defilement available. So mindfulness will simply notice that, tell that. And then the task of the panya is to uproot that. So that is the task of the panya, the wisdom. So likewise, it's a kind of a collaborative task. Ultimately, we need to implement. So as you said, it is not I am doing it. Rather, so all these faculties, when they are being empowered, so they do a very, very good coordinative activity, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes, Bhante. Because also what we have gathered is that the example quoted in the Dhammaratana Sutra is that it's a horse cart. So it's led by sati, mindfulness. The horse is the mindfulness.
Correct.
So it's led by mindfulness, but all other four faculties are working together like the four wheels.
Correct.
So no one can work in isolation.
Correct. That's
but
right.
led by mindfulness.
Definitely.
So they work as a bunch.
Exactly.
So all five spiritual faculties are being developed through the practice.
Definitely.
And what I found in these few days, Bhante, is that at Mitrigala, the timetable is wholly focused on developing those five faculties. So each activity, nothing else like, it's a sitting meditation, walking meditation, then the Pindapate, this Dhamma discussion. So everything Buddha Vandana is because you need to have effort also to do that, and wisdom why we should do.
Correct.
So when we go through this practice, it's an inevitable thing that those five faculties will be empowered. And like the other akusal faculties have their own function, like Trishna, to say not enough, each of these faculties have their own functions also.
Correct.
So especially the mindful function, to show us, what's going on. So if we work in that way, all other things will be consequences of the practice, like
Correct.
cleansing everything. And so if we focus on developing or empowering those five faculties through a particular practice, things will work out.
Definitely. That's right. You are correct. So as we are continuing, all these different faculties become more and more stronger, and again, well coordinated, well balanced. That is also important. Now, sometimes the effort has to be balanced. Maybe mindfulness has to be improved. Actually, as you said, the mindfulness is the one has to play the leading role. So it is the one telling, okay, now you need to improve this side, now you need to little decrease this side. So the whole craft, the vehicle, the charioteer, so the mindfulness is leading. So he is the one monitoring the whole process now, whether everything is happening smoothly. So if something is going wrong, that some action is required. So mindfulness will indicate that. So mindfulness, in that sense, yes, the horse, right? Horse. It is the horse. So four wheels. Balanced. Yes. It may turn up. Yeah. Yes. Anything, Sumana?
Bhante, how I guess as practitioners, how can we develop? How can we continuously develop mindfulness? We were talking about that. I think that was one of the stanzas from the sutta, from the one we were reading from the Sutta Nipanta. So, like, how could we as practitioners continuously develop mindfulness? Because, I think that's what I was saying, is you have to mindfully train yourself, like always, mindfully train yourself.
So, we can say like this. Now, at the beginning, our minds are utterly distracted. So, mind is jumping from this object to that object, is utterly distracted. So, there are kind of a purposeful development of mindfulness is available, where you are keeping, say, breath in front, or rising and falling in front, or your foot in front in the sense as your primary object, because those activities, those phenomena are always happening on the present moment. So it's a kind of a strategy we are using. So in order to minimize the distractions, the rumination of happening in the mind, so we are simply using these present moment activities, processes, as the attention of the focused attention of the mind. So when mind associates that again and again, so mind also trained to be in the present moment. So that is one level of developing mindfulness. So once that is done, okay, now you develop clear comprehension, yonso manasikara, wisdom, and all those insights are coming to the picture. Now once that has happened, now suppose mind has kind of a dispassion, kind of a relinquishment is available in the mind. So now even though sights are there, mind is not interested of going after them and thinking, proliferating about that. Then where mind is established? Either in the past, future or present. Where? Yeah, in the present there's an object, but suppose now all the objects are abandoned, relinquished. Now where are the, I'm asking not the place but in terms of the time, is it now thinking about the past, future or present? Present. It's fully aware of what's happening right now. So the mindfulness is there. That means now the mind, it is not kind of a deliberate kind of mindfulness now. It's a kind of a effortless kind of mindfulness. So you are fully in the present. So mind has well established in the present. It is not that you are forcefully trying to keep the mind in the present moment by binding it to a present moment object. But now mind is endowed with mindfulness. So therefore, the continuous mindfulness does not mean here, when you are coming to a more developed level, it doesn't mean that you are binding your mind to a particular object and trying to purposely, forcefully holding your mind mindfully. Rather, mind is mindful. Mind is effortlessly mindful because mind is not interested of distractions. Available. Effortless awareness. Something like that. Effortless awareness. Exactly. It's available naturally. So, the notion that you have to be consistently mindful, that indicates kind of a doing activity, right? So, it is there at the beginning of the practice. Yes, true. Where mind has to be avoided. Otherwise mind get distracted. So, you are binding your mind to a particular object and again you are applying your mind there. So that is purposeful. Striving is there. But later as you develop fair amount of wisdom, so the wisdom takes care of all the attachments, takes care of removing all the attachments, grasping everything. Now nothing is there. For example, no grasping. So when there is no grasping, so mindfulness is the thing available. So very interesting, how Buddha takes us to a different path, different approach. Previously it's a purposeful kind of thing, but later it's a effortless awareness. So you are already in the present moment and you are fully aware. If mind goes to some object, is you that also you are fully aware. If mind start thinking, fully aware that. And if something's useless thinking, okay, you can simply take it back. So likewise, so the whole process happened under your supervision, something like that. So mindfulness is kind of always available. Always available, sada sato. That means always you are mindful. Something like that. So we don't need to think that the practice is always kind of striving, strong, forceful. No. As you are continuing, it has to be very effortless, very relaxed and peaceful. So you have to turn to that side. Practice has to turn to that side.
Okay, Bhante, am I correct if I put it in this way? Now, at the beginning, the default function is the chitta to be all around. So, through practice, then, slowly the default function become to be in present, effortless.
Exactly.
Is that?
Then the distraction become a kind of a turbulence, exception, kind of spike of the mind. The default has become the baseline, kind of a very silent awareness, no spikes, no waves. So it has become the calmness, stillness of the mind. So that has become the natural nature,
Yes.
the default nature of the mind. So
Yes,
it's
yes.
yeah.
Because once like anything else in life, like those days I can remember Sachin Tendulkar.
Ah.
Like he used to play the same shot like 2,000 shots every day.
Uh-huh.
So one wonder, why a person like him should play 2,000 shots of the same stroke every day, like so he can just go to the ground and play. So I think what he wanted is to bring that shot of his default shot, like so it become natural to him. He doesn't have to do anything.
Yeah.
So,
the body does it.
Yes.
It's not that intentionally he is doing it, rather when it comes done.
Yes. So
training, in a way, training.
Training. So it reminds me of Mata Lukasansi also, because Lukasansi keeps on telling that Lakshaware, Dasa Lakshaware, Navata Karan, do the same thing over and over.
Again.
So then we shift from that default function of being all around to the default function of being in the present moment.
True. And that's being facilitated further by the wisdom. Now, previously, purposely, deliberately, we are trying to bring again and again to the present moment. And once we have taken to the present moment, now we are developing fair amount of wisdom. So the wisdom takes care of relinquishing whatever comes. So now mind is not interested of grasping. So even if as a result of past delusion, past tendencies, if mind grasps, so the mindfulness will tell, okay, again the fellow has grasped. The wisdom will throw it away. Wisdom will simply abandon it, simply letting go. So then again relaxed, again released. So, I mean, it's a very, very interesting coordinative function, actually, what Buddha kind of advocated or kind of preached. Very interesting. Okay, if there are no any other questions, actually we have spent about 1.5 hours, little less than 1.5 hours. So anyone likes to do the Sumana or maybe Nanda Asma, can you do the sharing of minutes?
Okay, Sabante. Today I must tell that this is the first time that I'm participating in a Dhamma discussion in English, and it's a very tough task because explaining Dhamma in English, what I found that there are no direct translation for so many words, so it's a tough task. So we should be very grateful to Mithiragala and all the Sangha Pitran Vahanses, continuing like Katagurundala Kusanse, and then Panadure Chandaratana, Dhamma Kusanse, everyone who's continuing this practice for the benefit of especially the foreigners to get into more deeper Dhamma. So this is the time for us to attribute the merits to all the Sangha Pitran Vahanses and Chandaratana Sanse. So all the merits that we are also attributing, we can share with them and let them also go through the pathway and attain Nibbana in the quickest manner. And so let's attribute all the merits to all the Deva beings and unseen forces and who's watching us of the merits that we have collected through Sajjana of Gatha. Etavata cha mehi sampadang
punya sampadang